No, we haven't started yet. Everybody's like.
Well, just recording, you know, there's two public comments. Okay, I'm sure you said. Oh, that's our. Well, yeah.
Nothing on the calendar. Okay, do we have a list? Can you text me a link? The link, if I'm able to get on Zoom.
So they just go to the calendar.
That's what I told her.
Regular board meeting.
Both of them, yeah. Let me see if Teresa found it.
Teresa's on.
Yeah, did she find it? Okay.
Who else were you looking for?
Liz Ross. She's texting me now. Team pickleball and senior cards only. When was the last meeting? Yeah. It's not gonna be, the link is not the day of it. It's on the bot, but it'll be longer than that. Okay, look under calendars. It won't come up on my phone, otherwise I'd send it to her.
So we should speak on the.
It's a good game. Yeah. I thought it was gonna go the other way.
Right now.
Regular board.
You say that basketball. You go to the calendar. Yeah, you can come back to it, it'll be so far.
Oh, I know, you really haven't, yeah. Oh, you like I don't.
Oh, yourself, right there. Hey,
I'm not really sure how much they do. Like, and it's been a long time. And he's not that. That's a little spring. Actually, I don't want a few games right now, like 3, 4, 5, 7 years later. There's gonna be some.
Hi, yeah, I think,
It's bad.
Yeah.
Getting old.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
over in here, probably. Got it. It's just strange that it doesn't show up. They're coming out.
Which is.
No, no. Get it out. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
I figured it out myself after half an hour of looking.
Thank you, Lord, for the sunshine and the fresh covering of snow. We ask your help for this day, God, just guide us through this process and give us clarity and give us wisdom and help us to do the business for the benefit of the best for the community. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, Michelle Jackson.
Here.
Dave Claus.
Here.
Bob Underhill.
Here.
Jim LePew.
Here.
Christine Johnson here.
Do you have any conflicts?
I may have a conflict. I have to say, as the pastor of Torch Lake Assembly of God, we have our food pantry there. And unfortunately, and fortunately, both ways, the Stoltz have been contributors to the food pantry. I don't know if that constitutes a conflict for me. So I just want to make sure that that's transparent.
Sure.
And the board can decide whether that is a conflict.
Okay, anybody else? I have none. I have. All right.
If everybody on Zoom could mute yourself.
All right, we have a pretty slim agenda here. Everybody take a look at that, and if you are okay with it, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda. I'll make that motion. I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, we have a lot of people in the room and probably another 15 or so online, so if everybody would please be respectful of everybody else, and we're gonna allow 3 minutes public comment until we run out. And there is another opportunity at the end of the meeting for public comment as well. So with that, I'll get started. If anybody has anything they'd like to share before we get started, yes, ma'am.
I have a statement to read. Good morning, my name is Micah Stolt. For the past 5 years, my brothers and I have operated a small home occupation business from our home to help support our education. Our business is very limited in scale. We rent only 1 to 3 pontoons from our private dock. Our direct neighbors on the lake have supported this activity, and in 5 years, there have been no complaints filed with the township. Not one. Unfortunately, TLPA has circulated significant misinformation online in an effort to turn the community against our family and our business. Because of that, I would like to briefly clarify the facts. First, we did receive a permit from Eagle to rent boats from our dock. We are not operating what most people would commonly understand to be a marina. Second, we are not here asking the township for permission. We are simply asking the township to apply its zoning ordinance fairly and confirm that our home occupation is indeed compliant. All board members should have received the legal analysis from our attorney, which strongly supports that conclusion. We are aware that TLPA's attorney argues that, quote, every material element of this business occurs outside of the home at the lake's edge, end quote. Respectfully, that is not accurate. The only activity that occurs on the property outside the home is parking and walking across the yard, something that even TLPA's attorney acknowledges is permitted. The actual business operations, including bookkeeping, reservations, rental contracts, and payments, are handled online from inside our home. Instructions and safety briefings take place on the boats away from the property on the water. Today's decision matters not only to our family, but to home business owners in the entire community. If the board were to adopt TLPA's interpretation that no business activity can occur outside the home under any circumstances, it would eliminate many long-established home occupations in our township. That could include businesses such as firewood, maple syrup, bakery, and produce stands, as well as home-based businesses whose work necessarily extends beyond the home, such as lawn care, contractors, and interior/kitchen design. That is why this issue is bigger than just us. It is about whether the township rules will be applied fairly, consistently, and equally to everyone. We respectfully ask the board not to single out our family's small home occupation for treatment that would not be applied to others. We ask only for fairness, consistency, and an honest application of the ordinance that reflects its intent and aligns with the township master plan. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Perfect. That left you 16 seconds.
Okay, anybody else like to speak? Yes, sir.
And my name is Lee Scott, and I am a member of the Torch Lake Protection Alliance Board of Directors. Torch Lake Protection Alliance is a nonprofit organization, has over 600 family members and 50 business members. And we have an all-volunteer board. And our purpose is simply to preserve the beauty and the health of Torch Lake for now and for generations to come. As we have stated consistently, TLPA is against the operation of a commercial pontoon rental business on the lake shore in an R1 zoned area. It sets a dangerous precedent that threatens the lake shore. It's such a serious issue that we have retained counsel to review whether the business violates the zoning ordinance or not. Our counsel has concluded that it does, and her opinion, I believe, has been shared with everybody on the board. You should have received a copy of her opinion. As she explains in the letter, and as common sense suggests, the pontoon rental business violates an existing ordinance which prohibits commercial businesses in an area zoned R1. An exception for home business does not apply, as an outdoor pontoon rental business on the waterfront is not a business conducted in the home or an accessory building, which is what the exceptions provide for. Our counsel confirms that the ordinance is fully enforceable. Some have argued that dividing the business's activities between land and water restricts the community's ability to enforce the ordinance and to protect itself. That's not so. Our counsel has confirmed that the township's ability to enforce its ordinance and to protect the lakeshore is not restricted by simply splitting the activities between the land and the water. Our counsel makes this point in depth and is included in the letter you all received. By not enforcing its ordinance, Clearwater would clearly allow what seems to be a clear violation, which will very likely radiate out in a lot of undesirable ways. Ordinance violations considered one at a time may seem to be not such a big deal, but one violation leads to another. One decision not to enforce an ordinance is then cited by the next business or person as a precedent. The foreseeable result is a lake shore that we all love is forever changed for the worse. We urge you to enforce your existing zoning ordinance. We urge you to protect the tranquility of the R1 zone waterfront in Clearwater Township for both current and future generations. So we thank you for the time to speak and express our opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir, Dale.
Yeah, I know I sound like a broken record, but this is R1. We're talking about R1. It says no commercial business. Now, there is some small exceptions. But my experience in this township is when you give an exception, they bend the rules. People that say they're doing an STR to save their home now have 22 of them. We have limited liability corporations coming in and buying up houses. And now we have this on the agenda where we're going to start possibly allowing commercial business on the shoreline in the R1 zone. I am adamantly opposed to it. And I can't stress to the board enough that if you allow this, the floodgates will open. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
Thanks, go ahead, Dick.
This township is a small community. It's always been a small community historically. It's not unusual and it's quite customary for this area, a small community, to have people conduct some commercial activity within their property. You can see it in R1 throughout the community. You can cite several examples, but of late there's an odor growing within our township, and it stinks of special interest control. When we are having our township and its small community ways assaulted by special interest control, which would like us to target specific individuals in specific situations, which is against what we've customarily felt is part of our township. And for that to happen within our local government, I just think it's wrong. I think our government needs to look at what we've always been, what we've always allowed, and it's a small community. We are not downtown Detroit, and this activity is not earth breaking. It's been happening, it's happened with our community, and it's not unusual, but these individuals are being targeted by special interest control group. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody else? Yes, Sue.
Hi. Just a couple of things, and you may have heard me with this phrase in the past. The main thing here is to keep the main thing the main thing. To put it another way, this is not about a particular thing. This is not about special interest groups. This is not about the size of the business that's going on. It's not about the price of higher education. It's not about the benefits that are provided to you in trying to run a business. And it's not about history. Because times have changed. And we all know that. The main thing is to decide whether a marina fits the definition of the exception to an in-home business. Because zoning has already said, has already been stated, that commercial operations should not be handled in an R1. There's an exception for an in-home business. Does a marina, it's defined as a marina, it's permitted as a marina, so I guess if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. You know. You have 2 attorney letters. One paid for by the township, one provided to the township from 2 different firms that I believe state that it does not fit that exception. There are in-home businesses that would fit that exception. This doesn't happen to be one. You've been provided with one attorney letter that argues that it does. You have to focus on the facts, the data that's presented to you. Pull out the emotion. Pull out the redirection. And think about the facts, your zoning, your definitions, your attorney's letter, and where the long-term impact of this might be for this township, and what the short-term impact of this might be for this township. If at the end of deliberation, you still have questions, I don't know what those might be, but if you still have questions, please understand that interpretation of the zoning ordinance is a function of the zoning board of appeals. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Like to speak? Yes, Ms. Dunn.
I just like to direct to the board that this township board and our zoning board of appeals serve a distinct role within our local government. Each focuses on different aspects of our community governance. And today, this board is taking on a zoning issue. If you continue with this today, I ask that your decision be based on zoning law as it is currently written. It should not be based on the fact that it's only 1 to 3 votes, or that they've been doing this for 5 years without any complaints or hazards, or that making sure everyone in the future gets to experience Torch Lake like we all did growing up. Your focus should be squarely on the ordinance in R1 zoning and the impact that this may have in our residential community. As a township, again, please focus in this commercial business where it belongs, which is in downtown Rapid City. We could be as cute and as quaint as Alden if we just clean up our downtown area and make it inviting. And finally, I'd like to say that I appreciate TLPA for their work that they do in trying to preserve the health of our lake. It reminds me of the 1970s when Three Lakes Association came around and they were concerned. Communities spoke out. Communities around the lake spoke out, and residential zoning went into effect. Our residential culture and the Northwoods appeal around Torch is essential to our community's survival. It's in our master plan. So I beg this board to please take your emotions out of it and focus squarely on the law, on the books as written. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Dan?
I'd like to just briefly address the issue that's of this particular issue being driven by special interest groups. I think that's a bit misleading in this case. TOPA has certainly been involved with this over their concern for the long-term environmental impacts of commercializing our waterfronts. And if that makes them a special interest group, so be it. But as a member of the Planning Commission, just like all of you, I've received 20, 30 or more letters from residents of this township on this particular situation. So to say that it's being driven by a special interest group, I think is a bit misleading. I think it's driven more by concerns of the local citizens here than it is by any particular special interest group.
Thank you. All right. One last chance. Anybody like to Keep going. Okay, we're gonna move to the Zoom people here, who has their hands up, or
Jenny has her hand up.
Jenny?
Good morning. I just wanted to say once again that I am concerned about the business being approved, because once this is setting that precedence, it's going to multiply rapidly, I believe. And I don't want it in a residential zoned area. This is my home, and I do not want businesses ever to be such as this allowed. I also do want to thank the TLPA for stepping in as they do, because they are concerned about the health of our lake, just as most of us are. I think all of us are, but I hope that this will not be approved. And I have nothing against this family. I don't even know them, but that would go for everybody, because we need to make sure that we take care of this lake, because if we don't, we've lost everything. Thank you.
Anybody else online like to speak? Do not see any hands up. Okay. Seeing no one online, wishing to speak, I'll go ahead and close public comment.
I'd like to speak. This is Teresa.
Yes, ma'am.
I have voiced my opinion many times on this, so I think you're all aware that I am totally against this. I am also an attorney, and my family's been here since the 1800s. I'd like to address the access issue that's been talked about in the past. There are 42 public accesses around Torch Lake, and there are also at least 6 commercial marinas for individuals to rent pontoon boats. And all of the examples that have been cited so far during this meeting are not businesses on the lake. The business that is run on the lake in an R1 is a different type of business, and it does not fit the in-home business definition. I would like this issue to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the interpretation of this ordinance. And again, I am totally against this. I do live on Crystal Beach Road, and my fear is that if one commercial marina is allowed on Crystal Beach Road, my whole waterfront, as I see it, will be small marinas. And I would appreciate that if the law was followed, and that did not happen. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna go ahead and close the public comment portion, which will bring us to the board discussion on this. I'd like to make just a couple comments before we get started here. Initially, I put this on our regular meeting agenda, I guess it would have been the 19th. Simply to get an answer to the Stolt family, because I know that they were, anticipating the season coming up. I felt that they deserved an answer one way or another. I know I'm sure they've seen our comments that were made on the Eagle permit application. And these comments were made by our zoning administrator, and are supported by our language in the zoning ordinance 22. So I don't think it's any secret that the township, and I hear a lot of feedback coming as if the public has already assumed that the township has made their decision, and we all have our individual opinions on that. I'm sure we all have our opinions, but the township collectively needs to provide an answer. Okay, so initially, this is why we're even here right now, because this is a zoning issue, and the ZBA would be the proper place to, carry on that appeal if they so choose to do so, or for other residents to obtain some relief as far as, if it was to go on, so. Having said that, I'm not sure where our discussion is gonna go this morning, but again, this is an attempt to give an answer to the Stoltz family so that they can either appeal or, decide they're not gonna do it or whatever, or whatever our ultimate end game is here. But, I feel it's important that the board members weigh in and, share their feelings on this. Ultimately, we're gonna be the ones responsible. We're gonna be paying the attorney fees depending on which way it goes. So I think it's important that as a board, we have an opinion on this. Doesn't downplay any of the responsibilities of our other zoning and zoning board of appeal roles in the community. This is just our reaction to allow the Stoltz to move forward one way or another. So having said that, anybody like to begin the discussion this morning to what is anticipated? Yeah, I know it's a little bit
I don't wanna say.
unusual. I mean, if nobody wants to, I will. We're all individuals here. We're responsible for our own opinions, okay? Collectively, we vote, and that is the outcome, all right? Since no one wants to begin the conversation, I will. I would just say that I support what we as in the township stated in the application process with Eagle. We informed the Eagle people that we did not feel that it fit properly into our zoning thing, and that the pontoon rental business is not a home occupation. And we believe it does change the character of the neighborhood. And that was our position when we commented on the Eagle permit. I don't believe that has changed, but again, I'm here to listen to what the board has to say. If there's a conflict with that, or, what we want to do, we should be ultimately involved in this, so, please.
So I should say a few things. Has anyone out here received a copy from Luthart and the Rockbrook, the attorneys on behalf of the Stoltz? Anyone seen this? It would be nice if we can make copies of this, if that would be okay, for the full thing, all right? Because, in all fairness, I think everyone should see what's in here. It's pretty good. And another thing is our attorney and the Torch Lake, Public, Protection Alliance attorney Elizabeth. Both of those opinions do not reference the master plan for this township. The Stoltz attorney does. So I'd like to at least read that paragraph. Finally, the Stoltz business is entirely consistent with the township master plan, which includes the following guidance. It has been an important aspect of our zoning ordinances to permit the practice of home occupations, roadside sale of farm goods, harvesting and conversion of forest products, and certain recreational uses of our countryside. We are a community that, quote unquote, lives off our land, and preservation of that tradition has always been a part of our planning. As we enter a new planning cycle, we need to revisit our ordinance to ensure that it permits appropriate entrepreneurial practices in residential, agriculture, and recreational districts alike, while at the same time assuring that the tenets of objectives 1, quote unquote, protect the unique scenic and natural features of the township, including water quality, and number 3, provide, quote unquote, provide for a range of development types through appropriate land use distribution are not infringed. Another paragraph, in sum, this is a small family-run business owned and operated by year-round residents that has quietly operated for years, providing income to the Stolt children for their education, helping them learn to courteously interact with public customers, manage capital, maintain equipment, market services, and provide a low-impact recreational outlet for people who desire a peaceful method of enjoying Torch Lake. It damages no one and fully complies with the Clearwater Township zoning ordinance. That's just the final page. The arguments made in this letter in regards to it conforming to our zoning are pretty strong. So in all fairness, it would be nice if we can make multiple copies of this and distribute it for people to see. And as far as, you know, we have 3 letters so far that I'm aware of. I'm sure another attorney on behalf of the Stoltz or with favor with the Stoltz opinion, we will go back and forth at how many attorneys there are. As a matter of fact, the letter from Albert Fisher on behalf of TLPA is dated yesterday. And I just received it this morning. I'm sure that the Stoltz attorney would have a response to this. So.
Are you gonna read that one?
I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but it's right here. I can make copies. You can have my copies.
Well, I'm just curious because you read the other one.
Well, there was nothing in this one.
It's a 5-page. He read a couple paragraphs out of the 5-page.
But I did emphasize there's nothing in here about the master plan. And the same with the other letter against the Stoltz operation. The Stoltz have a good point about the master plan and other good points.
I'm kind of siding along those same lines. When I read our ordinance and when I read our master plan, what has been presented from the attorneys, I do see both sides. I want you to know that. I definitely see both sides. I understand the huge concerns and I agree with both sides. That's why it's very difficult. But I do agree that it's kind of splitting hairs because they are doing their business in their home. All of their reservations, everything is done in their home. The only thing they do on their dock is the safety stuff and send them off on their way or deliver their pontoon. And I don't think that they plan to grow that business at all, but I do see the problem that could arise in others wanting to also grow a business and do the same thing. I mean, I feel like that everyone that wants to do that would have to go through the same process. They would have to do all the things that this family has done to get their business going. And I feel like they've done everything right. And they are within their rights to do this. That's just my opinion.
I'd like to say something too, according to our current zoning map. There's 6 that I can think of right off the top of my head. Without pulling parcel numbers that are running commercial businesses and what's zoned R1. So we can't target one commercial business in an R1 if we don't target them all. We gotta be equal and fair to the whole community. And do we even know the rest of the home occupation in our township?
These 6 that you mentioned here, they're all in R1.
According to our current zoning map of 2024.
Michelle, anything you got to add?
I also see things both ways, and I also feel that it would be unfair of me because I also run a home business in Clearwater Township. Mine is not on the link. So with that being said, I think that for me to weigh an opinion on another family and when we, as my family, rely on our business for income, it would be unfair for me to judge another family who does that.
All right, Dave mentioned this, attorney's letter here. Is there anybody here that would like a copy of this? I'll make some copies right now and get them out to you.
I can get my copy for me.
Yeah, well, you have got to.
That's this one. So I can refresh
Here, I got one already pulled out, stay long. Just bunched it.
All right. Okay, so. Given, the information that we heard.
What are the guidelines on how this occurs?
Well, yeah, again, we can't enforce something that isn't taking place right now, so until spring happens and, you know, the pontoons start renting.
Talking about the decision, like, is that a?
Well, again, this is a little unorthodox
Yeah.
because it isn't taking place right at the moment, so we can't tell them they can't do something that they're not doing. But, you know, I'm not exactly sure how we move forward with this. I'm thinking that, it's definitely something that the ZBA should be, you know,
I have
involved in.
an additional question with that too. So we allow, an adult rental business, correct? And we provided that they pay an application fee and then permit you to load and unload, kayaks for their business. That we actually,
We don't have any type of license like that. No, we're not doing.
okay, we just discussed it at one of our meetings because somebody had come to us for the.
Yeah, they submitted that company that is
Yes.
out on Rapid City Road.
Yeah, okay. So I'm not just totally.
We permitted the company down here.
They came and asked us for a decision and we voted.
Grand Valley.
Really have.
Well, that was the kayak rental from, I believe it was Burger Street.
Yeah.
It might have been Oak Street. I think it was maybe Oak Street. Anyway, that was a temporary thing that was done. And to my knowledge, nobody has applied for another one of those permits. I'm understanding that that business is sold. That did previously have it. I don't know if the, you know, new company is interested in doing that, but that was done on a trial basis for 1 year period. And again, I don't know if there's been any further discussion on that. There was a couple complaints logged over the entire summer. But they have not replied, so that discussion hasn't happened.
And it probably wasn't time here, probably in the
Probably
spring time,
soon.
if it were gonna happen, it would reach out to us. And then the other businesses that, Bob had mentioned, are those also boat rental businesses or
No, but
No.
it's home occupation.
home occupation? Okay. I was just, curious about that. And then the only other question I had would be the implications. So if it's a property in R1 and it's 100% homestead, would, that change if, their homestead exemption, would that change if they're also doing business out of their home?
I think there's a percentage involved there.
Mhm.
I know Dawn does that on some other businesses
Mhm.
where the
Do we
homestead
know the,
exemption isn't 100%.
do we know the implications of what those homestead, are they like 50% homestead, 50%?
I don't know the answer to that.
That's a federal
I don't know the answer to that. That would be something the Stokes might be interested in if they're,
Because I would think it would come from the state, right?
it comes from Dawn.
As the assessor.
Yes.
But she follows whatever laws that come from the state.
Guidelines, yes.
Yes, so I guess I would be curious
Mhm.
to see if there were, any type of tax implications that if we're doing them for, other businesses where it's out of their home and half is homestead and the other half is not homestead. What is the implications, especially like these individuals are right on the lake.
Mhm.
Like, and they go, oh, well, now 50% of your homestead is gonna be, taxed differently. Is it gonna outweigh the amount of money that they're gonna be earning in their boat business and we get any, as to that, that would be, something that I would choose.
All right, well, we, I guess we should, in board discussion, I want to be sure that, everyone knows where we're at. I guess I'm assuming, but because of the points that you raised, that you're maybe thinking that a pontoon rental business is a home occupation that would be approved. Is that what you're?
The way that the Stokes are running their pontoon business, I believe it complies to the zoning and to the master plan.
Well, that
Also,
would be,
it should be known that they have 3 properties,
22,
how much, or 3 on the water for that, correct?
22.
22 in a home.
We're talking about the waterfront properties that are for the marina, isn't there 3?
There's 3 parts of that.
And about how much frontage would those 3 combined be?
Oh, my dad has to answer that.
Okay,
I don't know if he wants to jump in here.
How many other waterfront properties do you own?
So relevant, doesn't.
it's not part of this.
It's relevant because if this is approved, they can just start
250.
putting marinas all down the shoreline.
According to the permit.
50+ feet.
So, as far as the fear that this is gonna catch on. I wonder if the person making that comment or the people that feel that's, true. If they think that's for existing property owners, or do they think people are gonna buy up this, Torch Lake waterfront to rent pontoon boats? Which would be very,
They could have STRs.
okay, so.
We got LLC.
They're not homestead, right?
Okay, so how much money is you gonna make on renting pontoons for a few months out of the year?
Are you kidding? Why are so many people doing it?
3 pontoons.
we gotta move conversation down.
Okay.
Let's keep it fair.
So besides that, the other attorney letters against what the Stoltz are doing are focusing on what's the structure. I think that the Stoltz win that argument. On their structure and their dock and the way they're running their business inside of their house. So,
Our lawyer disagrees with that. Okay, just so you know, our lawyer's position is that it is not considered, appropriate.
I looked at what our township lawyer wrote, and I looked at what the Stoltz lawyer wrote, and I believe the Stoltz lawyer is more specific and more accurate.
And I did have the question about our attorneys, so I did see that we had a letter. From back in 2022, is that the only other input that the township has gotten from the attorney?
He sent me that from 2022, which is the result of the tiki torch.
Mhm.
He cited some of the same in the correspondence that came with that letter from 2022 you're talking about. He cited some of the same things there that made it not a home occupation. You know, it's taking place on the dock. So,
And we went over their water rights, so they would up to the highest water mark. So, and on the property, so then the dog moves up into the lake. So when that's in the lake, that's what the portion that the eagle permit covered.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're only governing up to their dock,
And the tiki
and they are
torch-
doing their business in their home,
the tiki
and
torch-
Eagle governs the dock
up
on.
to the point where the people leave their property.
Yeah.
The tiki torch was a non-homestead operation. They stole their homestead. That's so the difference.
That's true.
And also, I just want to say to the TLPA, I favor what you're doing, the protection and everything. But I believe at the same time, the Stoltz run a clean operation. We're talking 3 rental pontoon boats for 3 waterfront properties. You know, I don't see them polluting the lake. I don't see them doing something that's gonna cause danger or pollution. If they can't rent from the Stoltz, they're gonna find another place. It's not gonna, I mean, less boats on the water. So,
And then the only other question is too, is then how is township and how is zoning, how do we also preserve homeowners that are in a residential one area? That would be really a legal question
Mhm.
that I would
Again,
expect an attorney opinion direction to us. What does that do then to the integrity of people who buy in residential areas because they don't want to be, you know, St. Clair Shores. They don't, you know what I mean? How do we protect the integrity of people who buy very expensive homes in a residential area to preserve that, you know?
I think that is what we're being asked by a large group of the community right now.
And or we as a board, qualified to make that determination without additional, you know, information as far as zoning and master plan, additional information from attorneys. Because honestly, I mean, I've read through this, I did get the TPL letter this morning, I did do is my due diligence and did research on this, and I walked away with more questions than I had answers. So I think that again, people who own property, they should have a right to have home businesses. And then as our master plan, we also, you know, people who buy in a residential area have the right to that area being residential and free, you know, have businesses and business traffic and things of that nature.
And that's our goal, to have residential areas that are, you know, homestead, not just people come and going, right? I mean, that's kind of what we're hoping for, and that is exactly what this family is. They're homestead there, they're living there and thriving. And I think that's a wonderful thing, and we should support that. But at the same time, we do want to protect the lake, and we do want to acknowledge the rights of everybody else around them. It's really, really hard to make that call.
It is hard to make that determination, because if I were in Stoltz shoes and people were coming to me and telling me that my homestead violated the master plan, even though it has been in my husband's family since the 1800s, again, I would be having to defend, you know,
Your right to do.
my right to have a home business. So that,
And a lot of the community's argument is, home occupation in R1. And if this has been such an issue, there's, I don't know, 9 that I can think of right off the top of my head in R1, and we've never done anything up to this point to regulate that. But again, we need equality in our community, Crystal Beach, and I'm all for protecting the lake. I spent a lot of time on that lake. Have throughout my whole life. But that's just a corner of our township, and if we're gonna do, it's good for one, it's good for all. We have to have equality. And morals, and a lot of it is an argument about home occupation. And there's blatant commercial operations in what our current zoning map shows. As our one.
In our bodies.
I would not disagree that we have violations. But I think we have to focus on this particular thing. This is what we're here for today.
Yeah. But again, it goes, if it's good for one, it should be good.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I don't think any of the 9 that you're talking about are pontoon rental businesses and other ones. If we're discussing the pontoon rental business, and if that's appropriate.
Well, I mean, and we had arguments in your last meeting, well, a business is business, and whether it's a home occupation, I'm how you interpret the definitions, or if it's a commercial,
That's laid out in the zoning ordinance, so the requirements of a home occupation. And again, my question is a pontoon rental business a home occupation? Okay, so
We have.
That's their occupation,
I'm
and
gonna
they're
have
doing
to-
it in their home, so I mean, I guess.
And if we're.
I think you still have further comment on this. You're trying-
That it's
no,
not,
it's kind of, I'm not sure anybody.
no, not detrimental to buyers. Eagle is by permitting them, saying that it's not a detriment.
They're not hurt on the.
That they're not hurt.
The Eagle permit and our zoning are not really related as far
Right.
as, you know,
No, I understand.
they enforce their things and we're, you know, enforcing ours.
I think that's why, as a board, we need to take the pontoon out of it. We're just talking about the home occupation. The
Yeah, but not
pontoon
all
is-
home occupations are approved. And I think by the comments we've heard, I think a lot of these people believe that pontoon rental business isn't a legitimate, I shouldn't say legitimate, but isn't an appropriate home occupation in R1.
I think the state of Michigan has been trying to designate docks with rentals as marinas.
Okay, so.
There's other home occupation, type, entrepreneurial practices in R1 that have been going on for quite some time.
Mhm.
And year round.
Mhm.
The Stoltz, their pontoon rental business is probably 4 months, June, July, August, September, maybe October. And if you take that away from them, that sets a precedent to take other home occupational businesses from people that have been doing it for a long time. So it's not fair. And like the point being made, the pontoon part, to me, is irrelevant as well. We are a community that lives out from man. There's many people that have to rent their properties to pay. There are waterfront owners that have to rent and move somewhere else for the couple months in the summer so they can pay their high tax bills. So there's a lot of things going on that need to be taken into consideration as a whole, not just this one issue with the Stoltz and their non-legal business.
Well, I think that the pontoon rental businesses is the reason that we're here right now. And it may be, or it may not be a home occupation that is appropriate for R1, okay? I feel that at some point, this entire discussion probably will wind up in the ZBA's hands. I think it's appropriate where their, you know, function is to determine and to weigh in on these controversial things, our interpretations and things like that. That's what basically their sole purpose is to define that for us. I wish I had a real easy, concise way for us to get this to the ZBA. Because I feel ultimately that is where it will be decided. But, I don't know where we go with this as a board here, other than to, you know. And again, this is a little inappropriate for our board to be making a final decision. I think this decision that we're making here is to whether or not it warrants, a special hearing or a public hearing by the ZBA. They would have more of an authority over, you know, the ultimate outcome of this. I think that, you know, that is why they exist. So I don't know that, if there's an appropriate vote here or anything, but I'm confident that there's an answer out there, but I don't know how we get to it.
I'm reading our zoning ordinance, and the definition of home occupation says any occupation. It doesn't say any particular kind of
There
occupation.
are some restrictions as far as, you know, what
Right,
it needs to be,
yeah,
take place in the home.
and like I said, the part that we
They don't
govern
have
is,
pontoons in their home.
right? Do you
That's their
keep
business is
firewood in your
pontoons.
home if you're
Yeah.
selling firewood?
You keep chainsaws in
You
the
can
middle.
keep it outside if people come to the road to get it.
But the state does state that, an accessory structure can be included in a home occupation
That is
in R1.
That is true.
So that the dog
So
can
that's
be
just-
an accessory structure.
State of Michigan determines that docks are not a permanent structure.
They're not defined specifically.
That's a fact.
They're just stating.
So would a car rental be allowed out of your house?
I don't think so, but we have to slow the conversation down here. There'll be an opportunity for public comment at the end. I'm gonna call on Dan here, our planning commission chairman.
Jim, I think you're on the right track with this. This is a pretty complex zoning issue. And you have a ZBA that has many years of experience dealing with that zoning issues. And instead of asking the board to weigh in on an opinion of what the zoning ordinance is telling us, it should be a function of the ZBA. I have a article here from Fahey Schultz that talks about that very issue. I think I gave one to Jim. I don't know if everybody got there now. It's very interesting, but it tells you the functions of the ZBA, and I think the ZBA in a lot of communities is underused. Because that's one of their functions is not just to hear variance requests or appeals to a decision that the board may make, but it's also to make interpretations of the text of the zoning ordinance when there's a question about that. And to me, that would be the appropriate panel to hear a complex zoning issue such as this. If you would like a copy of this, take this one.
Thank you.
It's a very good article about the function of the CBA.
If you were in,
That's available. Thank you.
Sure. Almost.
All right, well,
So would that mean, Dan, that the board doesn't make a decision at all, that it just goes to ZBA? Is that what you're
I
saying?
would think that would be the appropriate thing to be,
I think the decision we would make would be to send it to
to
the.
send it to the ZBA for interpretation before, and then you would have their understanding of the authority. Rest and see.
I don't know that we, as a board, can override the ZBA's final decisions. I don't think we can't do that.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
I do want to say that I can tell the majority of the people in this room are against the operation. What the folks are doing. But I don't think I think the general public. I think it would be pretty even, everybody can go in their favor. When someone wants to stop something, you're gonna have more people showing up at the board meeting. I don't even think a lot of people know about that. I think if it was a ballot issue,
It's not.
I know, but if it was.
Yeah, a lot of people are for it. Get more people.
Yeah, I'm not saying vote today.
No.
I'm saying if it was a ballot issue.
My point is that the ZBA is a very authoritative panel when it comes to zoning issues, and if they go one way or the other, then that's the decision.
Right.
That go.
But I'm just saying, don't gauge by what we have in the room here
It can go
as the way it is to all the other property owners.
So here is my question. So the zoning administration, like if you guys review that,
Yeah,
and
I'm not.
you're not ZBA, so ZBA, if they reviewed it and they made a determination, is that the end all be all, or is there an appeal process at that point with ZBA? If ZBA voted against them, would there be an appeal process for this family to, appeal that
There
determination?
is.
Okay,
Courts.
Then we go to court.
then we go to court.
And that's.
Either way, we're
part
going
of
to end up
zoning
with attorney
appeal
fees.
process.
All right, does the board have any other comments they'd like to make? I'm gonna suggest that we, as a board, ask the ZBA to give a final rendition of what our intentions are here, if they're, and you know, I have to interpret what we've heard already at the planning commission, and I know the ZBA hasn't weighed in on this, but I have talked to some of the members individually. You know, they all, I shouldn't say they all, because I haven't talked to them all, but the ones that I have talked to, feel that they are, you know, gonna be weighing in on this at some point anyway. I'm trying to push it along at this point, so I'm gonna suggest that we involve the ZBA in making a final determination on this particular issue.
What's going to be provided to them as part of that?
Well, they're gonna, and they have, I've passed some of this on to them, they're gonna have any information that they want. Whatever,
Not leave it all.
How about any information that we provide to them as well?
sure, I mean,
Okay. So
I'm
we
here
right now,
to go to meetings.
right now we have 3 different attorneys that I know of that have weighed in on this. So we would provide all 3 of those opinions.
3 plus Teresa on there too as well, she's an attorney.
Sure.
And she is on the, she's an alternate on the ZBA, I think, right now. For sure.
I heard a verbal opinion, but I haven't seen anything in writing.
True. So, is that something that is, you know, agreeable?
I
Should we vote
would
on
like,
this?
we would definitely like ZBA's opinion. I would definitely like there. I don't know if I'm comfortable
Yeah,
making the determination or.
I don't know if I am either. I feel like, and I hate to say it, but there are some conflict of interest points with both planning and ZBA, because you have people who live on the lake that don't want this to happen.
David, you live on the lake.
No.
Don't you?
No.
Oh, I thought you didn't.
well, just because you live on the lake,
And, yeah, and don't want it to happen. So hopefully they're
Two or either.
weighing everything out and.
well, I guess in those cases, those people will have to recuse themselves if they're unable of, or incapable of making a.
And I guess we would have to decide if until there's some determination by ZBA and there's some type of vote, that people are allowed to continue in or allowed to continue on with their business until that point in time.
Yeah, I believe what the process would be if the ZBA chooses is that we would initiate the name of the letter, a zoning violation. That is what it would be. We would be issuing them a zoning violation saying that they're conducting a inappropriate home occupation in R1, if that's what they determine. I mean, obviously, if they're okay with it, it'll be up to people who are opposed to it to take some action afterwards. I mean,
Would the zoning be that it's inappropriate or unclassified? Because we're trying to determine if that dog is an accessory to their home
that's something the ZBA would determine.
and not me. I wouldn't determine that. I don't have that.
They would look at the interpretations and the definitions and decide if that was in fact appropriate.
And we already have legal opinion both ways.
Right.
One of those we're paying for. So I guess then I would make a suggestion or maybe a motion that we refer the operation or the pontoon rental question to arrive at the ZBA's doorstep.
And the ZBA would have to determine if that would be considered a home business or a
Yeah,
commercial.
it is a home business, whether it's appropriate or not is the question. For R1.
That is your motion.
Yes.
Motion to refer the pontoon rental question to ZBA.
Yeah.
That's something like. Just trying to write it as you said it.
Being,
Or an opinion.
being open-ended like that, so.
Before there can be any more discussion, there has to be a second. If there's no second, there's no more discussion.
Okay, I'd like to open up a comment, about this before we move forward with it. I need a second.
But is there a second for that? Send it to the ZBA
For an opinion.
Oh,
for an opinion.
I would second that to go to the ZBA for an opinion.
All right.
Just a unrelated point, the ZBA is meeting next month, so this will be.
Would it coincide with our next general board meeting? Date wise?
Yeah,
So
They
we
just
can have a
posted it for
determination,
13th,
and I
yeah.
wonder if you would speak to it again as the board.
Yes, and I think from Greg, we did hear that he could, cancel the meeting, scheduled for the 13th and repost it
As a special.
to include a special hearing on this. If we wanted to do that, he would do it.
And then we would be able at our general board meeting to be able to bring that back up and make a determination.
I don't know that we're required to make that definition.
Okay.
Again, I brought this up at the March 19th meeting, just to move it forward, to get
Yeah.
it, you know. So after the ZBA makes their decision, I don't believe that it would come back here.
It would go to, if they determined that it wasn't a home business, then it would go to, they would be able to apply for an appeal, and then it would go through an appeal process, and that might.
I think the board
May
has to
or may not.
approve or disapprove this ZBA's recommendation.
Hmm.
I believe we have to vote on the recommendation of the ZBA. No? Okay.
Yeah, I think if and when the ZBA, addresses it, they will have a decision. They'll either say, this is an approved use or it's not, and they'll have a reason. And I think at that point, it would be up to the Stoltzes if they want to appeal or not. And, you know, other members of the community would have that same opportunity to appeal too, if you felt that you were, you know, not treated right or whatever. But given that, I don't think that it is appropriate for this board at this time to render a thumbs up or a thumbs down without consulting the ZBA. I think it's, you know, an important part of the step that we should include.
And then the environmental, the zoning, ZBA makes that determination. The Stoltz should be able to continue, you know, with their home business until it's determined, you know, whether they continue or. Exist that
Yeah,
business.
well, we can't issue them a zoning violation until they do it. So that would be their choice if they decided to do it.
Mhm.
We would have a choice to make then if we're gonna give them the zoning, violation. All right, so is there any discussion, Dave? There's a motion to return the pontoon rental question to the ZBA, and there's a second. Any other discussion before we vote on that? All right, let's go ahead with a roll call vote on that, just so that we have accountability. Good. Appreciate everybody's composure today. I know this is a real hot topic that people are passionate about, but I appreciate you're all, you know, keeping it together today.
Okay, roll call vote. Bob Underhill,
Yes. That's the one we ZBA.
Michelle Jackson,
Yes.
Jim Lafitte,
Yes.
David Clark,
Yes.
Christine Johnson, yes. Oh, wait, can I vote? I think I can vote for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and disclosing of potential conflicts, if you absolutely felt that you couldn't make a decision because of the Stoltz's generosity to the food pantry, you don't have to, you can abstain, but
I think to send it to ZBA, that's not making a decision, that's.
yes, I agree with you. All right, well, that motion carries. I will get in touch with Greg, who is the chairman of the ZBA, and see if we can get that on his agenda and get that. Yeah, I think it's far enough out, we can get that on the agenda. And just a little side note. Several of the people on the ZBA that I did talk to encouraged me to send it to the ZBA for their interpretation, so. All right. Any other discussion on that before we move on? We're done. All right. Again, thanks to everyone for the peace. All right, moving on. We have a typed up motion, and we get one of these from Michelle on the pay period dates.
Why about that?
No, I will make copies. I do, well, because I wanted to say, I wanted to go over it. And not so much as, oh, let's do this, like, we're gonna do this right now, we're gonna vote on it. To be open to, like, we're with phase 3, with Plant Moran, that this is where we are looking to go with this as far as policy and procedure. So, Steve had sent the one with the 1993. And you had stated in one of the meetings, somebody brought that to the board and it was a motion or a resolution that was.
Yeah, there was a resolution that, had not passed,
That had not.
but it was made in a motion in minutes.
Okay, and so that motion was brought by.
Um,
I know, I just want to question.
that was in April of 22. And let's see. Right, I knew I had it in there, but I don't know, I don't know who made the
Well,
motion.
we can always circle back to it. So,
Yeah.
so what I'm looking at from this perspective is that we're gonna be working strongly with Plant Moran on policy and procedure.
Yes,
So state of Michigan, they're stating at least every 2 weeks, which just changes our payroll from 24 weeks to 26 weeks. And I know there's something from 1993, there was a motion that came through, again, my opinion and not, personally affected by it or by emotion is just that I'd like to see us in step with the recommendations from the state of Michigan is all. So moving forward, when we're working with Plant Moran, I don't want to go, oh yeah, we're gonna do 26 weeks, so we need that in procedure and policy, and then the other people on the board are like, no, we're not gonna do it. But per se, to be open-minded, then we would have a schedule, of the dates that those individuals would be paid, and they would be employees. We have 6 of them defined by the state, that 6 are employees. So, it's not something necessarily, that we have to vote on to, yes, we're gonna do this, or no, we're gonna do this, but to be aware that when we're working with Plant Moran on policies and procedures, that this is something that is going to, that is gonna come up, and I don't want it to like throw a wrench or people like, oh, I can't believe now we have to do this and this. The whole goal of that phase 3 is to bring us into 2026 and being in line with the state. And that's all. So that's the goal of it. This time of the year, I don't think I have one person, the deputy treasurer. So this time of year for her, because we're not collecting taxes. So it's not as big of a deal as it is during the tax collection time, because sometimes you might, if it's bi-monthly, you might get a 1 week paycheck and then nothing for like 3 weeks. Like there's really not a schedule in.
it's every 2 weeks except for twice a year.
Except for twice a year.
Yeah.
So we had 26 paid paychecks versus 24. Then it's not gonna be something that's gonna be a big battle working with.
It's not a big battle. The only battle is this, it messes with my schedule. And instead of having my routine where it's always this and always this, it's always a different day. So I mean, it's the same day of week, but it just changes.
Right.
And you never know what I have going on those weeks. I just, you know.
Right,
because the
and
clerk's
I
office is so busy.
understand. 'Cause
So
we
I
have-
like to have set days.
Yeah, we have all been flexible when you have things come up, maybe somebody gets paid earlier. You've been really good
Yeah, people
about
don't have
before
their
I,
timesheets in.
yes, I'll work it out. So
Yeah.
it's not,
It is more of a question though than just that, because actually this motion says. Maintenance request, bi-weekly paydays, maintenance was being paid every. I think they were being paid monthly and they requested bi. And for the second and fourth Thursdays of the month, so that was the motion, it was made by Albert Keys, it was seconded by Joanne Childs, so the. Everybody else was monthly. Maintenance was the only one that was twice monthly. And so the question for the whole policy is, do we change everybody's payday or do we change
yes,
certain paydays? And
I think that we're just gonna have to bring it into line, you know, with what the state recommendations are. And go from there, because we are going to be entrusting Land Moran to do phase 3, so when they come at us, they're gonna come at us with, this is what the state does, this is what other townships do, and,
when I talked to the state, they said, we decide how we wanna do it.
right. So again, I just want people to be them when we're working with Land Moran.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that is the whole,
And get
that is
the
the whole
accurate policy.
Yes,
all
and
together.
with that in mind, so, now, the deputy does it, you know, like, Dee does this, I mean, she chooses to do this, but she also forgoes during tax time, like her regular paycheck that she earns. So for her to every 2 weeks, I get it, because she's giving up, you know, her income from her job that she doesn't get, you know, PTO or, you know, time off to do taxes. And so that again, you know,
Well, it's not like she's not getting paid, she just has to budget her money differently.
well, that gets into a whole different thing, because
Yeah.
again, you know, we're getting into, you know, if you look at, you know, back in May of 2000, you look at, President Clinton passed that, you know, unwed parents are, you know, a protected class. You can't say you gotta budget your money better, you know what I mean? So we really have to be careful when, you know, we're dealing and understanding. So I just want to make sure that when, you know, we go to Plant Moran and we're working with Plant Moran on the policy and procedure, it is only to bring it up to 2026 standards, not from 1993 or from those things or resolutions, you know, that have been, passed by, you know, yeah.
Sure, and we're all looking at this policy going, this is the policy, just
Yeah,
this?
yeah, and it literally, it is, from 1992.
Yeah, right.
It's very.
So, yeah,
It's
like
very
most of our
good.
policies,
Very
they all need
dated.
updated.
Yes, and, we talked about like our employee handbook,
Yeah.
Jim had brought like one that Casca had done, that was a very good example.
And a year ago, we voted to update that.
Yes, and now's our opportunity, just so that we have all of the policies and procedures that are all, you know, in writing, we're all
Was
in
that,
agreement.
was that approved, that third phase for Plant Moran, was that
It
approved by the
was-
state? for
It was
reimbursement?
approved, but Jim, we have coming up this week, there were 3 dates that were provided to meet with them. So we need to get that solidified, because my understanding is the monies for phase 2, we had completely exhausted the monies for the phase 2 part, which would have been like our budget.
Slightly overspent.
Yeah, so slightly overspent.
$12,000 or something like that.
I think it was like, like 6,000, they approved 22,000, and I think it was 28.
Until I sent the next bill, which was 10,000.
Which was, but that, there, okay, so we'll have to, if you can provide those to me, because we had another that was, That was a special one that was specific to the IRS and the state of Michigan one. So we had one that they were working on with that, and we had phase one, which was the
They
transition.
didn't say, my brand didn't say on the invoice, they just said for contract.
Yes, so we, I think, we could get a definitive from them, but there's another one that is wedged in there, and that was the one that had to do with the
One was already spent,
IRS.
one was not.
Yes,
And
so,
so spread it out, but.
yes.
But yeah, that's $16,000-17,000, that's up in the air.
So what I'm going to propose to the state of Michigan is to be able to, if they have funds available, to be able to have like $20,000 within like a 6-month period. That we're able to, yes, so that we're able, because my understanding is people who have been through like the BSNA transition part, usually about a year from that transition, things start coming together. Yes, so it's.
And more
just-
companies need them for audit too.
And I can make copies for everybody, because this is just like, okay, this is all coming down the pike. And just that we're all on, don't have to be on the same pages, but on similar pages. And understand that, once we have procedures and policies attacked, then it's all gonna be new to all of us, because it's gonna be different.
Yeah, the question that Eric posed to me was, what kind of board do we want to be? And our policies are gonna reflect that.
Yeah.
And so do we want to be consistent in everything that we do, so everybody knows, oh, this is what that person does and this is how they do it, because we have it written. And we don't have that. We've never had that, but it's small town. So do we want to run on a less formal kind of, this is your job, you do it however you
I
think is best to do it?
Yeah, I think that we can surely, run in, a middle of the road, and I'm definitely not, like. That
Yeah,
thing, but I'm
even
also,
Eric said that.
I'm
You could do it
also
this way,
not
you could do it
like,
this way, you could do it
this
this way.
was in 1993, this was in 2020, well, 2020 is a whole different ball of wax, because we were dealing with
A lot has
COVID-19.
changed.
So this is gonna be what I'm gonna discuss with Plant Vernon, but Jim and I, there's 3 dates. I believe all 3 of them are coming up next week, where the state of Michigan is available. Because that's gonna be that next phase going, but I am also going to speak to them about having, it doesn't mean we have to use that $20,000, but be able to have that available. And then anything that has to do with BSNA, we just call the helpline. And, they apparently will log on to our computer system, and they will walk right through anything that we need to be able to do. And they're pretty good about it. So this is just something, that I want to make sure, that we're proposing. And then the other thing is just making sure, these are not all full-time jobs for us. So people are foregoing their time and pay with full-time jobs. So we want to make sure that we're retaining people, that.
That's what I mean by,
that
what kind of employer do we want to be as a
yes,
board? Because we've had a lot of people quit,
Yes.
and that means, that reflects badly on us as a board.
Right. And I think that, the people that we have currently, we have a good group of people that are working for the board. We have a good group of deputies, good group of employees. I think that we're in a really good space, and the goal is to retain them. So we don't want somebody in the middle of X, I'm like, I can't not work, and get paid, if I'm waiting 3 weeks to get a paycheck. You know what I mean? So, and I agree, I think you've been really good, so it's definitely not enough to you. You have no control over what was passed in 1993.
No.
So again, just to be open-minded, and, because we did discuss at our last meeting that we're just going to go with what we have been doing until, we get a policy. So, but I can take copies so that everybody can take a look at it, and then for me,
Yeah, I
like,
would love
like,
that.
I'm like, that would be great, like specifically for, the employee that's under me. But then also we could open that up, is it fair to everybody else? Will they,
Right.
do they want
It has
that
to fit in the
opportunity?
personnel policy too.
Yes, do they want to be able to get paid 26 times a year versus 24? So in
Or
the
12,
big, in the biggest difference, yeah, or 12.
The other two deputies are like, I'm monthly, I prefer monthly.
Right,
Yeah.
right, and
So,
they
I
don't
don't-
have,
yeah.
they have full-time jobs that they give up to their job either.
Well, isn't the
Yeah,
current,
actually Andrew does.
He probably does, he
Yes,
needs
he
to
has
work
multiple
on my
jobs.
culvert.
Christine, isn't the current policy monthly?
For deputies, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is what the policy
I'm good
currently
with that.
says.
Well, do we wanna vote, if we wanna vote on it, I'll put
Well,
out a motion
I don't
that
really wanna vote
that
on it
we
right
go
now.
from monthly to 26 pay period.
For,
For a year, does anybody second that motion?
are you making that motion right now? I thought we were gonna, I thought we had already
If it's
determined
gonna,
we were not.
if it's gonna revert to monthly, then,
Let's do the
I'll make
policy
the
first.
motion that they get paid, 26 paychecks a year from 24.
But it should have been monthly all the time. There was an oversight.
So, that would be my motion.
You're legitimately making that motion.
Yeah, well, if it's gonna revert to monthly, yeah, then we have. to
No, we're
make
not
that
making,
motion.
we're not making any changes until we get the policy. Or start working on the policy. We're not ready to work on the policy. I have not seen that yet. I
will
only
make
just sent out what I,
Yeah, I'll make a,
and so I'm not ready to make a decision on it, so I'm not gonna second that motion, but is anybody else ready to make a decision on it?
I think we should do it, the policy when we determine the policy, let's continue.
So wait
What
until we
that
do
is
the
at the same
policy.
time, yeah. I have to say, I personally don't have a preference, but I'm not a bi-weekly person anyway, so. But we'll slide that off to when we have our policy, phase, plan, right?
and then if you can respond, I tried to get them with you a few times. So you let me know which days work for you.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we can do that after the meeting, we'll figure out which day works.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. And that brings us to the cemetery ordinance, which was passed on to legal and was returned, several weeks ago. I sent a copy to everybody with the red letters and corrections and that.
I was a little intimidated at first by all the red letters. I thought, oh my gosh, we just went through this thing multiple times. Why are we having so much red letter in here? But then I read it and I went, oh, it's just a lot of correcting, spelling and stuff and, punctuation, and then it's adding some things that we should have had in there. So when I looked through it, I was like, oh, yes, absolutely. There's not one thing in here that he added that I would change. I loved it. So, that's my opinion. I would approve it as presented by the attorney.
Is that a motion?
You want me to make a motion? I make a motion that we approve it as presented by the cemetery ordinance as presented by the attorney.
I'd second that. After reading it, I'm surprised that we allowed it to go in as it was, because it did.
Why didn't we think of that? Yeah, because we're not professionals.
Mhm.
All right, should we roll call that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. And let me ask you this too, and I know I don't know if I can open this file up and make it editable. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to go through and retype the whole thing, obviously, for the one to get signed, because we can't sign this with all those red.
Did you
Right.
type this up or did you?
No, this was what was returned from I gave the attorney a Word Word document that he could edit.
Okay.
That's what he did. This is what he sent me back. I don't know if I can edit this yet. I have to see if I can open it and do Google Docs or something.
If it comes back as a PDF.
Either way, we have to edit it before we can actually, put our signatures down here, but we can approve it today. And
Okay,
it says it would become 30 days, comes effective 30 days following its publication in the newspaper. So
All right, so you
if
have a
there's-
motion by
yeah, there's
Johnson,
no other discussion. And
support by LaFew. All right, Michelle Jackson,
yes.
Jim LaFew. David Cost,
Yes.
Christine Johnson, yes, Bob Underhill,
Yes.
all right. Motion carried.
And I will get this, a corrected copy in the newspaper and get it signed as, won't be signing it right here, but we'll be signing it after it's corrected.
And this was sent to PDF, just let me know, come on, I didn't get.
Okay.
That was it.
Well, my goodness.
We actually have a noon rental in here, so you don't have too much time.
Perfect. Well, we still have closing comments.
Yes, I guess we're, is there any other board comments before we open it up to the public for closing public comment? Anybody have anything?
No,
Okay.
thank you, everybody.
All right, with that, I will open up the conversation for some more public comment. Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I wanted to say thank you for, running such a peaceful meeting, as you said, Jim, as well.
Appreciate that.
It's not just the people sitting on this side of the table that can sometimes get a little, heated. So I just want to commend the board on sharing your ideas so openly and, debating professionally and with logic. Just a couple thoughts and maybe questions, for your consideration. It was indicated that the Stolls have, 3 waterfront properties. And in your attorney's letter on page 1, it does say the Stolls activities satisfy all the requirements, the definition of a home occupation. And it's operated and maintained in a manner that will not change the residential character of the district.
This is the Stoltz attorney's letter?
This is your attorney's letter.
Okay.
Oh, is that? It's addressed to you.
That's the Stoltz is the attorney.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, the Stoltz's attorney's
Okay.
letter. So on page 1, it says that, it will not change the residential character of the district. So just a couple comments just to consider, and I know you've already made the decision to turn it over to the PDA, which I think is good based on a couple of things. The fact that they do own 3 waterfront lots, if they are approved, they could do the same thing on the other 2, which, and then anybody else who wanted to do it, it would definitely, in my opinion, change the residential character of the district. But what I think was brought up, and I really commend the board, and you, Jim, had mentioned it, was, you want to focus on the definitions, not only of a home occupation, but you want to focus on definition of, the residential character. You mentioned the master plan where a lot of that stuff is supported. What is the definition of commercial? I didn't hear that brought up or read out loud. Because there's a difference, I think, between home occupation and commercial.
C1, C2.
Yeah, so the definition of commercial, I didn't hear the definition of marina. Are you using the state of Michigan's definition of marina? Or is that in your ordinance? And then you mentioned, Dave, right, Dave, that there's a list of other home-based businesses that are in violation. And Michelle, you had said
And you don't
something.
even know how many home occupations are in there.
And I would encourage the board to consider, home occupation, if you're selling eggs, I think that's different than sending out 6, 7 pontoons on a boat on the water that is commonly shared by the rest of the community as opposed to somebody picking up some eggs to consume in their home. So I think that my point is the definitions, I think need to be really reviewed in depth. And I think that you touched on a couple of them, the at-home occupation, but maybe not the other ones. And so I think it's gonna be good for the zoning board of appeals to address that, since that's their area of focus.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that kind of go along with that, gone to a lot of township meetings, in the past. And when it comes to home occupation, my understanding, and I've read a lot of articles about this, is you're providing a service as a home occupation. It's foster care, it's daycare, it's taxes, it's stuff that you do in your home. But at the end of the day, you're sleeping there, that's your home. The product is what services you provide. And the way I look at this is what you're actually selling in a pontoon business. You're not selling the services of taking reservations and taking money. You're selling lake access. It's a physical. You're saying physically you're selling the fact that you have lake access. Because if you take that same piece, if you take all those services they provide, put it across the street, they don't have a business. It's that lake access that is the service. That argument's been used in short-term rentals too, and has been defended. Is that you're not providing a service inside the home that is still your home. It's the lake access that you're selling. Another comment, and I love the fact that you mentioned the master plan. I think that's great. I'll always be looking at that. But after looking at the Michigan Township Association handbooks, they'll basically say that ordinances should be developed on the master plan. So if you have something in the master plan you feel is in conflict with the township's desire to operate out of an R1, they should change the ordinance based on the master plan. The master plan itself is not a legal document ordinance. So the other thing I'd like to mention is your authority at the water's edge. Townships can go. I can provide you 6 documents that it was written by attorneys that will say, yeah, there's plenty of it. The riparian rights, you can go beyond that highway. You have that authority. And you just look around, look at Milton Township, look at First Lake Township, look at Helena Township. They do govern how many docks and boats, jet skis you can have. So you do have that authority as a riparian. And through riparian rights. And there's plenty of documents to show. So I just wanted to add that.
Yes, sir.
Where can we get a copy of your attorney, the township's attorney's letter?
Can
Online or?
I generally don't post attorney letters online, but I can make you a copy of what I've got right here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say that, we appreciate the opportunity to speak. The opportunity you provide us to speak is a very important part of the process. And I had a nice turnout for people to come and talk. And, so I just wanted to thank you for that and give everybody a chance to express their opinions.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, sir, Frank.
You don't have a way to enforce the ordinance. We're paying a lawyer to draft an ordinance, but has no way to be reinforced or enforced. If you want to create a bad neighbor, start telling them what they can do with their problem. There is a way around every bit of the ordinance. This has been going on for a long time, since the 50s. Up and down the Jersey Shore, through Nantucket, everywhere there's sanctimonious people trying to keep the sanctity of their community. You talk about the residential decor of our neighborhood. I got 3 junkyards on my street, but I'm friends with every guy that owns them. I can count on them if I need something. They can count on me. Until you can enforce these ordinances, you shouldn't be paying a dime. You talk about in-home business. You collected taxes in your home. And for that convenience, you doing such a good job. Deep helping, Christine doing what she's gotta do. If I was an employer and had 5 people working for me, if one wanted to get paid every 2 weeks, well, others are happy with a month. Until you bring a third party payment a payroll company. If you're paying a third party, then you want to do that as little as possible. But if it's not any inconvenience to you, Christine, and you could say, all right, this one wants it every 2 weeks, this one wants it every month. I don't think that, to me, it wouldn't be a problem with my business. But if it is a problem for you and you need a policy to say, okay, this is how it is, because we're gonna stick with it. I like the informality of this board. And I trust this board. I don't see kickback. I don't see dishonesty. I don't see anybody lining their pockets. We don't even have cops coming into this town and we're paying a lawyer to draft an ordinance. And not only that, there isn't a problem. One lady getting her firewood stolen out of her yard, well, that can happen any time. Wait till there's a problem that you gotta solve. Because if there's not a problem now, we start telling people what to do, there will be a problem. I'm against stepping on anybody's rights for any reason. If a septic fails, we're gonna know it because the yard stinks. Bang them hard if they violate something. But don't just blanket, give us $500 for a licensing fee because we're gonna use that money to enforce our ordinance. It's ridiculous. If people wanna know how to beat these ordinances, I have a cabin on the Jersey Shore. My father spent every weekend in Montauk when we were kids. They've been going after these people for a long time. And some of them, if they do have 3, 4 commercial entities, do we really have the money to fight these people? We don't. You're setting yourself up. And if people want to know how to beat the ordinances, one way, you can lease a property for 30 days, and if those people leave in a week or 2 weeks, you do not have to get them for any kind of eviction. You don't have to charge them anymore. There's nothing that says if I lease you a property for 30 days to get around that short-term rental, that I can't let you leave in a week and not give you any repercussions for doing it. There's a lot of ways to do this, and if people need to be taught as a freedom fighter, I don't think we should be putting our nose in anybody's business. Because until these junkyards are gone, don't tell me about the beauty of our residential district. It's all nonsense until you can enforce it.
Just one comment on that. We're not paying a lawyer to write an ordinance. The ordinance already exists. We're just enforcing it or whatever.
Okay, well, yeah.
Attorney review of what planning
Yeah.
commission did.
Right. Okay, yes, Michelle.
I just want to say thank you, Jim, for your leadership and keeping us all calm, keeping us on time. The leadership has been really great today. I feel confident that the right decision will be made in the right department of our township. And one more comment on the Stoltzes, great people, I'm sure they are, but man, when you have to create a parking lot for your in-home business, I think that changes the character of your residential neighborhood. Thank you so much.
Anybody else?
Christian online said, thank you for allowing this in-depth discussion. We appreciate everyone's commitment to our community.
Thanks, Christian. Okay, there's no other public comment. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Something, can I say something?
Yes, ma'am. Teresa, go ahead.
I just wanted to address the conflict of interest issue. Conflict of interest is done by a strict definition, and there's no emotion in it. And it does not matter where you live. That would be like saying if you lived on the land that you couldn't be on a board because you'd be conflicted. It really is financial. And there's a strict definition, and the Zoning Board of Appeals follows that strictly, and they strictly look at the law. and the ordinance, and that is what they look at. There is no emotion. And I just wanted to address that comment that was made earlier. So thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Anybody else online with public comment before we close up? All right. Motion on the table to adjourn. I'll second.
Get you first.
All in favor, aye.
Thank you.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Hi.